Hello and welcome to the second live podcast. My name is Jono Bullard, and on the show we'll be looking at all the latest Panthers and Elite League news. We'll also be talking to Mat Davies from the Nottingham Post, and also David Grant will join us to talk about the upcoming UK Forum All-Stars. And we'll also discuss the news that a KHL franchise may be coming to London. To talk about all that, I'm in the company of Paul Baum, Tina Taylor,
Bonjour,
and Andy Haywood.
Hi.
If you want to comment during the show, you can do on Twitter. It's at CatsWhiskersTV and use the hashtag TCW Live. Now, since... Blimey, what was that? Someone got the window open.
It was a motorbike going past our house. I'll have a word.
It's live. It'll happen. So, since our last podcast, Panthers have announced the one signing. Defenceman Andy Sertic joins from Stavanger Oilers in Norway. The 6'33" left-shooting defenceman was a fifth-round draft pick for the Pittsburgh Penguins in the 2002 NHL entry draft. He's played the majority of his career in Austria, 317 games in the EBEL with 200 points, quite high for a defenceman. Also has dual nationality as Croatian, so will not require a work permit, and also won the Norwegian Championship last season with Stavanger. So, universal approval from the Panthers fan base, which is very unusual from the signings that we've had previously in Matt Carter and Jeff Brown, Paul.
I think you can go back further than that, can't you? But, you know, he looks a good player. I mean, obviously, with any player that you sign, it's, you know, there's always a certain amount of wait and see. And as I'm sure we'll touch on later, no individual signing guarantees you anything. But, yeah, he looks okay to me.
I mean, Andy, is this the guy who's going to quarterback the power play for next season?
It certainly looks that way with the stats that he's got. It's hard to look past him with regarding his attacking prowess. So I'd be interested to see what he's like on the blue line, especially with the man advantage.
I mean, Tina, with Jeff Dimon returning and Sertic coming in, can you see Steve Lee reverting to a more defensive role than probably what he's been used to for the past couple of seasons?
I don't know, because to me, I don't think Stevie Lee has really been as offensive as some of the other players we've got. I mean, to my mind, just taking last season, I thought that Jeff Waugh was much more offensive. But then, you know, when we did our end of season reviews and we're looking at the stats and everything, the amount of assists that Stevie Lee had quietly racked up was astounding, quite frankly. So I don't know. I think Stevie Lee is probably going to continue to play just like Stevie Lee. To be honest, I think he's grown into the role that he's doing now, and I can't see that he needs to change his game very much at all, because I don't know. Somebody can disagree with me if they like, but I don't think that his defensive game needs much work.
Yeah.
I think what it does, though, is that it takes the pressure off him slightly. I mean, start of last season, I think he was the one who was looked to quarterback the power play, and that you could tell he didn't really sort of fit in that role particularly well for me. But so yeah, I mean, yeah, it's probably just more a case of taking the pressure off than any sort of particular change.
I'll ask each of you very, very quickly, so do just quick answers, but as I said earlier, seemed to be universal approval from the Panthers fan base on Sertic's signing. Can you see him being a very effective attacking D-man? Andy, start with you.
Yeah, I mean, you put up points like that in the leagues he's been in. He should do well over here. So yeah, I think he should be quite an attacking threat for us.
Okay. Paul?
I think there's looking at those numbers, there's a chance that he could be, yes.
Finally, Tina?
As long as he's more Jeff Waugh attacking threat than Kyle Hardy attacking threat, I'm a happy woman.
And we don't want to start Paul on Kyle Hardy once again, so I think we'll leave that one there.
Oh, wow.
You may remember from the last live podcast we was talking about Panthers being in the Continental Cup. Shortly after the podcast, there was an article that appeared in the Nottingham Post with Neil Black saying that he was making the Continental Cup one of the priorities for the season. This caused a bit of consternation within the Panthers fan base, and I spoke to the guy who did the interview, Mat Davies from the Nottingham Post, to talk about that article. Delighted to welcome to the podcast from the Nottingham Post, Mat Davies.
Good evening, hi.
Hi Matt, the reason we've got you on is you did an interview a couple of weeks ago with Neil Black. It was about the Continental Cup, saying it was a major priority for the Panthers this coming season. And I think it was a case of where people read the headline but then probably didn't actually click into the article, because there was a lot of noise on social media and the forums regarding making the Continental Cup a priority, and some fans made the assumption that the league wouldn't be, but that really wasn't the case at all, was it?
No, I read on social media people were threatening to tear their season tickets up and abandon the club in a couple of cases, but I think, I spoke to Neil and that was the last thing I spoke to him about, because I didn't think it would be such a huge issue. I just said, where does the Continental Cup rank, considering it's going to have a big impact on your season if you did well, and, he said it's a big priority for us. It doesn't mean a big priority doesn't mean it's the priority. I think it ranks somewhere, I guess, alongside the Challenge Cup. You want to win the competition, you want to win everything you're in, but to be clear, the league is the priority. Speaking to Neil or Corey or any of the players, they'll tell you they want to win the league because they're sick of other teams winning it, I guess.
I mean, looking at the Continental Cup, it's quite a difficult progression to the final, starting in the second round. And I think, if we're fair, Nottingham have to go into that second round as favourites.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, they didn't want to be in the second round. I get the impression they don't think they should be in the second round. I think what Neil said, if Coventry had done a little better last year, then Panthers wouldn't be in the second round. So it does, I think, like you say, you expect them to go through, but it has that knock-on effect of games, having to be rearranged, and that does affect your Elite League campaign, which is where I can see why fans would be more disappointed, because, like I said, they want to win the league, and it's hard enough as it is already without having to play, rearrange games and play midweek when other teams aren't. So, yeah, I think that's the knock-on issue, certainly.
I mean, should they get through, they go to Odense in Denmark, where they'll also play Angers from France and Donbass from the Ukraine. A little more of a chance of getting into the final from that, because obviously it's the top two that qualify.
Yeah, I guess so. It's a lot tougher. I mean, I wouldn't bet against them. I suppose we still have to see how the rosters piece together those final three signings and see what they come up with. But I thought the way they played last year, if they're anything like as good this year, then I think they can do well in the Continental Cup and all the other competitions.
You mentioned there about the Panthers signings, a lot of re-signings from last season, and I think we've talked about it lots of times on the podcast about how you often talk at the end of the season about which players wouldn't you want back, but I think between us we couldn't really think of anyone who we wouldn't have wanted back this season, even though the team finished fifth in the league. Obviously players will retire. We've added the likes of Matt Carter, Jeff Brown. How do you see Panthers looking going into the new season?
I think as it stands now, I'm very optimistic. I think, where I thought they fell down last year, I thought they were as good as anyone in the league, and on their day I thought they were better than anyone. I think they just lacked that little bit of know-how that unfortunately Sheffield seem to have to win the tight games that end up winning you championships, and Panthers proved in the Cups that they were a match for anyone. So I think if they get that bit more know-how, or maybe these players they've already signed or bring it in, then they can certainly challenge for the title. Be interesting to see who these last three players are, whether they get any of the three back that, I think they might well want to bring back, Brian Schmidt, Quick and Juraj Kolnick, or whether they have to look elsewhere. I mean, I'd be a bit sceptical about any of the three coming back at this stage now. It's been a while, but I think a lot depends just on who these final three additions are, because the players they've retained, Mika Vickman, Cam Jansen, Logan McMillan, who I thought was really underrated, guys like that, give a good foundation. The loss of Mosey is such a big problem to fill. I mean, how do you replace the quickest player in the league who can play attack and defence and hit and score goals and contribute on power play, penalty kill or on offence? So I think it's pretty impossible to replace him. You have to, shuffle the cards and make the best of it. But yeah, I'm pretty optimistic. I certainly think they'll definitely be up there and have a good chance of winning again.
And just finally, just looking at some of the signings that the other teams have made, obviously Jeff Ulmer signing for Braehead today, a very, very big signing. Do you see it being another competitive season?
I think so, yeah. I mean, my cricket work takes me away a bit from who everyone else has signed, but I see Cardiff have signed the brother of one of their key players, like you say, Jeff Ulmer. I know he was 39, 40 years old, but from by the sound of it, he tore up the league the short stint when he was at Cardiff, admittedly a long time ago, but that obviously shows you're a good player. And I think, am I quoting you on Twitter, who said age has become just a number with David Ling and other older players, Kolnick, Moran. I don't think it matters so much anymore. So, yeah, I think the league's certainly going to be competitive. I think the reputation of the league's improved a lot in the last couple of years, just from speaking to players who've left Panthers, like Andy Bombach. I spoke to him and he said he didn't know what to expect, but it's surprised him. And players, they'll go away from the league and they'll spread the word, and I think that makes it a better prospect. And then you see guys like Mosey earning a move to the AHL, and they'll say what a good league it is. And I think that has a knock-on effect that helps the league, and in the case of those two guys, helps Panthers recruit better players, hopefully.
Many thanks to Matt for coming on and for his time with that interview. Andy, I'll come to you because you wasn't on the last show. Do you think there is a chance that Panthers could actually win the Continental Cup?
I think there's a chance, definitely, because obviously all the big boys are in the CHL now. But I think one of the major factors that we have to adapt to is the style of play, and more importantly, the style of officiating. It always, whether you think it's biased or not, it always seems to be our downfall. Whether it's Team GB or our teams from the Elite League in these European trips. So I think we should have a strong enough squad and a decent enough team to compete. Like I say, you look at all the big boys, they'll be in the CHL. But obviously there are a lot of variables and a lot of factors that decide this, and it's going to be tough. But we've certainly got to look at it as that we've got a chance.
I'll just ask you all very quickly about the article. Paul, did you read the headline and read the article? I mean, what was your feelings when you first saw it?
That's the way around I normally read things. Yeah, it may be a bit misleading, but you've got to write something that draws people in to make them and read it. So once you actually read the full thing, then it all becomes clear. But if you're just going to just read headlines and base everything on that, you'd probably think Freddie Starr ate somebody's hamster, wouldn't you?
Tina?
I mean, he didn't.
Yeah, well, it's like Paul says, really, you need to get people in and then actually read what's in the content. If you don't read what's in the content, then more fool you. Basically, we just want everything, and we want it, on a stick with cherry sauce and sprinkles on top. So, well, I mean, that's just demanding Panthers fans and owner alike, by the sounds of things.
Okay. To move away from the Panthers for a second, and some other news that came out last week was that a KHL team may be appearing in London. It says that a franchise has been granted, and although there has been no official announcement from any of either Ice Hockey UK or the EIHA. So I'll ask you all each in turn, and Paul, again, I'll start with you. Do you think this will happen?
I don't know, is the simple answer. And to be honest, it's very much a case of I'll believe it when I see it. But then again, I said that about the new arena as well. 16, 17, however many years ago it was. But It would be interesting to see how it would work if it does come off. Really, we're I don't know what the time difference is between here and sort of the western end of Russia. Never mind playing teams in China and things like that. So there are a lot of logistics to get round just to get a team into it, and I really don't know if it happens. Just because you've got a franchise doesn't necessarily mean a team's going to come out of it.
Okay, Andy?
I think it will happen. I don't know when, but I can't see why it wouldn't. Ultimately, I can't see why someone would be that interested to set up a franchise and not at least give it a go. They must know the financial ins and outs of it before they set up the franchise. So I think it will happen. I'm just not convinced it will be sort of, straight away. It might be sort of 3-4 years down the line.
Tina?
Oh yeah, like Andy, I can see it happening, but I think we discussed this in a podcast sort of early last season, I think, and I would hate to be a player playing out of London. You'd be living your life in Heathrow Airport practically. I mean, I don't know how I've remembered this, but one of the teams in easternmost Russia, Admiral Vladivostok, to get out there, you're looking at a minimum 12 hours flight, and you've got to change in the middle of all that. So the logistics of it would be an absolute nightmare. But the KHL is obviously finding a way to make the distance between the teams work so far. So why not London, I suppose? They've got a major airport at their disposal.
Also, bearing in mind that Elite League teams, Ice Hockey Super League teams before that, have never really had a great track record in the capital. If this does happen, can you see it being a success or failure? Bearing in mind the amount of money that would be needed to not only set a team up, but actually keep it on the ice. Tina, you go.
Well, the capital's the right place to do it. It's whether or not the capital buys into it. The people have to go, and they have to go in numbers to be able to support a KHL team. As long as they have got somebody who can financially back it and sustain it for as long as it takes for the momentum to grow, then it's got a chance, definitely.
Okay. Paul?
I mean, well, if you're putting that much money into a club like that, then part of that is going to be a hefty marketing budget, isn't it?
Very much so. And Andy?
Yes, I think ultimately it might not last, but I think it will be a success for a short while, because ultimately to survive in the KHL you're going to need big sponsors, so you're going to get a lot of money pumped in and a lot of corporates coming through. And I think, obviously, to be fair, you're probably going to be looking at quite a few tourists going as well. I think you'll get probably one of the most visited teams in the KHL, I would imagine, because of where it's at, and I think that will help. But whether your standard hardcore British hockey fans buy into it, that's another question. But I think there will be enough people to make it sustainable for a while.
Okay. Moving on to look at some of the other Elite League news since our last podcast a couple of weeks ago. And first off, starting with the Belfast Giants, who have re-signed Stephen Murphy. But what some have seen as a surprise move have added Jackson Whistle, who comes from the Kelowna Rockets in the WHL. Now, if you think that name sounds familiar, it's because he is the son of a former British hockey coach, coach of the Steelers, coach of the Giants, coach of the Bracknell Bees, Dave Whistle. So, Andy, I mean, this is a guy who has been facing NHL draft picks, guys in his age group who are at the absolute top of the game, and he's been posting really, really great save averages of sort of 91, 92%. Added to that, because he was trained here for some of his junior career, he acts as a British player. That's a great, great capture by the Giants.
Yeah, it definitely is. Ultimately, it means that they can still run the extra import like they used to. and I think it suits them down to the ground, and I think ultimately it probably suits Stephen Murphy down to the ground. He'll be the first to admit that his last couple of seasons have been, rocked by injuries, and maybe having the chance to have that extra night off, or being able to get back to full fitness before playing. And I think it's also a nod to the future. And it's a very good signing. Like you say, the fact that he's British makes it all the more appealing for the Belfast fans.
I mean, Tina, does this give the Giants an extra dimension, having two such good netminders?
Of course it does. It just doesn't happen in the Elite League, where you have two quality British netminders, and now they can go out and get the full range of imports that are out skating. And if Jackson Whistle is can carry on his form that he left in the WHL over to the Elite League, then it's blinding signing for them.
Paul, do you think it's a bit of a surprise that he's turned his back on what could be a possible career in the higher leagues in North America to come over to the Giants?
Possibly, but it all depends on what he wants to do with his life. He may have come to the sort of realization that he's not going to maybe get as far as he thought he was going to, and decides he wants to see a bit of the world or something. I mean, who wouldn't want to see Fife? Coventry.
Yes.
Other ice rinks are available.
Moving on to the Brayhead clan, who signed Hendricks from Cardiff and also had new import Corey Cowick announced. But the big signing for the clan was announced just yesterday. Jeff Ulmer, who fans may remember from the 2003-04 first Elite League season, where he played a 9-game stint for Cardiff, scored 9 goals and got 9 assists. Now, obviously, time has moved on a little bit. He's 39 years old, but Tina, David Ling proved that age was no barrier, and this guy could come in and do some serious damage in the Elite League.
Well, I hope he doesn't come and do it verbally, because we all know how much everybody else hated David Ling. But it doesn't mean anything. If he thinks he can play, then let him get at it.
I mean, Andy, I'm sure you remember a devastating performance from Ulmer at the NIC, where he scored a hat-trick and almost single-handedly won the game for the Cardiff Devils by himself. Do you think he'll still bring that, even though it's a few years on?
I think he's got the capability to. Ultimately, I mean, we've seen with Ling, we've seen in the past with other players. I mean, I'm sort of thinking towards the Hockey Stars for Hope when the NHL has come over. What they lack in pace these days and fitness, everything upstairs still works. And ultimately, I mean, we saw, especially with David Ling, a player whose game revolved around decision making and pure ability, as opposed to speed. And obviously, I can't remember Ulmer greatly other than his stats, because I'd have only been probably best part of 12 at the time, and so obviously you look at the stats and you see how good he was, and you've got to put him up there in the category of when Theo Fleury came over, and so if you've got a player that's that good at that time, yes, I don't expect him to be going 2 points a game, but he certainly should be one of the better players in the league.
One of the big movers in the Elite League over the past couple of weeks has been the Cardiff Devils. They've signed Sean Bentivoglio from Asiago. I knew I'd messed that up. I knew it.
Bentivoglio.
Thank you very much. They've also re-signed...
Just Sean.
They've also re-signed Andrew Hotham and added his brother Scott to their defensive core. However, Zach Hervato has left the Devils to take up a job in an opportunity, having previously announced he would be returning. Other sad news that comes from the Devils is Scott Matsker, their former player, has been diagnosed with motor neuron disease. There will be a benefit game for him, I think in November, at the Ice Arena, Wales, and a big nod as well to Mark Richardson, who has delayed his testimonial for a year so that benefit game can go ahead for Scott Matsker. So, not great news, and we wish him all the best from everyone here at the podcast. Just to go back to some of their signings, I mean, Paul Bentivoglio, he sounds like... Bentivoglio. He does look the real deal.
Yeah, Sean does look pretty good, doesn't he? He's been putting up the numbers in Italy. I'm sure he will turn out to be, a really good signing for them. But and Cardiff are looking strong again. Andrew Hotham, we know what he can do to teams. I don't know a huge amount about his brother Scott because I've not done any homework again.
But apparently his brother is supposed to be a better player, which is ominous.
Yeah, well, we'll see, won't we? But you say they're putting a good team together again.
And of course, Andy, with already having Guillaume Doucet and Joey Martin, they on paper certainly they look to have a lot of firepower.
Yeah, they do, and it'll be interesting to see how they all gel and how they click. And obviously, it'll be interesting to see them in their first full season in the arena. But they certainly look like they're going to be an entertaining team this year, and should have absolutely tons of goals in them.
In a surprise move, it was announced yesterday that the Fife Flyers had signed Brendan Brooks from the Brayhead clan. He becomes their 8th signing after Kyle Fulmer was signed last week. And Paul, we all know you always went on about Brendan Brooks and Brayhead wanting their team of Brendan Brooks. Well, they haven't got any Brendan Brooks because he's gone to the Flyers.
Now they'll have forgotten about him now. Now they're all getting all excited about Jeff Ulmer.
True.
They'll probably want a team full of him instead. An interesting signing for Fife. Though it came a bit out of the blue, but it should be a good one. The numbers he put up last season, really encouraging. And a really good signing. But I think. What I thought was interesting, was that he said today that the rivalry between the two, didn't even cross his mind when it came to signing for Fife. But I think he could add a little interest to those games this season.
And as if they don't already need a bit of fire adding to them already. I mean,
it never does any harm.
Well, it certainly doesn't. I mean, Tine, he's got a great pedigree. He was excellent for Clan next season, so I'm sure he will be probably the go-to guy for the Fife Flyers.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's a rather large purple crater in the middle of Brayhead somewhere where Clan fans' heads all exploded when he signed over in Fife. But I'm sure he's going to be a great player for them. But Fife, where are their Brits? We're still talking. Well, I'm talking about it now. But where are their Brits? It's all well and good signing up all these, all these great sounding imports, but what's going on? Does nobody in Fife want to play for the Flyers? It beggars belief. That's what I'm struggling with. They can make all the import signings they like, but the lack of Brits is really telling at the moment.
I'm sure they've got a few up their sleeve just ready to.
Well, they need to be on the blooming roster, not up their sleeve. They need to be getting on that.
One final little bit of news is that Sheffield re-signed Rod Sarich.
That's not what it says on the agenda.
It does. It says Sheffield re-signed Rod Sarich.
Yeah, what does it say after that?
Never mind. Just to hand it over to you guys listening, who do you think's been the best signing in the Elite League so far? Let us know on Twitter at CatsWhiskersTV. Use the hashtag TCW Live, and we'll read a few out at the end of the show. Okay, moving on, and we mentioned on the last podcast about the UK Forum All-Stars. Well, that takes place from the 29th to the 31st of July at Ice Arena, Wales. Yesterday, I got a chance to have a chat with one of the organisers. It's David Grant. As most people will know, the UK Forum All-Stars tournament will be taking place at Ice Arena, Wales. Not this weekend, but next weekend. I'm delighted to welcome one of the organisers of the event, and I'm very much involved with it since its very inception, David Grant.
Evening, Jono.
Evening, mate. How are you?
Not too bad. Not every day you get to announce an event, raise a lot of money as we've done today with the £80,000 announcement. So it's a good day.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to actually start with that. I mean, £80,000 a week and a half before the tournament starts. That's just a phenomenal amount of money.
It's mind blowing. You sometimes, and we say the same thing every year. You can't put words to just how this event has grown, developed, evolved to be at a position where we said at the beginning, this is the year that we want to hit the £100,000 mark. We got close last year with £86,000, a great total. But we want to neck £100,000, and with a week and a half, 12 days to go, we give ourselves a great chance of, doing something more than just special, something unique, and something that we'll all remember, years ago that we was involved in that, and we all played our part. So it's exciting news today, and it just enhances the challenge that we really want to hit this target for this year's event.
This event is taking place at Ice Arena Wales, a brand new arena. It's had 3 years in Ice Sheffield, so an exciting new venue to put the tournament in.
It is. I mean, I'll be honest, it's bizarre trying to, because you do a list of what needs doing, and my list this year is arranging, getting down to the event. Normally just have to jump in a taxi and I'm there, but so it's great to be in a new place. Cardiff is a fantastic place. Anyway, it's a wonderful city. And I can't wait to see the new venue. I've seen the photos, I've seen some of the video footage of games with the Devils. I can't wait. And I think a lot of people are in the same boat as well who've not had the opportunity to see Ice Arena Wales yet. It's going to be a great weekend in a fantastic facility.
Just give us a flavour of what's going to be happening then, because it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The game's taking place on Saturday and Sunday, but I believe there's an event at Ice Arena Wales on Friday night.
Okay, so the Friday night is the official welcoming evening, the opening, the start of the weekend, and this year it's a bit of a disco at the rink. We've got a guest speaker who we're looking forward to. He's a motivational speaker, and I think everyone who listens and hear him will be excited, and it'll motivate him to really carry on the good work everyone's done this year. We've got an auction with some fantastic items. At the top of my head, there's quite a number of them. We're still going through what to go through as auction and as raffle. There's a number. We've been blessed with some fantastic donations from all around the UK, and even potentially around Europe. There's still people coming in saying, we may be able to help out. So the list is not complete yet. So that's exciting in that respect, what we've been able to offer to people to donate. So that's the Friday night, and then Saturday, 12 o'clock, the weekend, the ice hockey starts. The 8 teams, Blue Cross, Breast Cancer Care, British Heart Foundation, Dreams Come True, Health for Heroes, Prostate Cancer UK, Haven, and the Wales Air Ambulance. Everybody plays each other in one game in a group stage, and then there's a 7th, 8th, 5th, 6th, 3rd, 4th, up to the final game on Sunday, determine who wins on the ice, and who gets the bragging rights.
As I know, it's a fabulous weekend. Unfortunately, I can't make it this year, but I wish you all the best. I wish you all the luck in the world in getting to the 100,000, and I'm sure it's going to be a fabulous weekend for everyone. Thank
you very much. I'm out disappointed you're not there. It's always good to see your wonderful smile.
As opposed to my terrible skating ability.
I didn't really want to mention that, but no. All jokes aside, it'd be a shame to not see you there. But before I go, just a huge thanks to everybody who supported us through donating to friends, family, sharing, just giving pages and the stories on social media. It's not been quiet for the last 6 months of someone sharing a page, sharing something, and it's helped. It's created that buzz, that excitement. For the bottom of my heart, I can't thank everybody enough for helping us to get us close to the £100,000 mark. So if you're doing nothing and you're in the Cardiff area, or you fancy a bit of a road trip, a bit of a hockey fix, come on down. It may not be the best hockey you'll see, but you'll be entertained. That is for sure.
Many thanks to Dave for joining us there. And the UK Forum All-Stars just continues to go from strength to strength. And Andy, a tournament that can raise, £100,000. It's just a phenomenal effort.
It really is. It always amazes me how much they do manage to raise year on year, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and obviously the tournament gets better and better. And I've still
I'm not in it this year, so that's an automatic improvement.
Well, I was just about to say that obviously it's great because you get to see people that and you don't usually get to see playing hockey for the fun of it, and it is great. I mean, I've never pulled my finger out and actually applied to play, but I've been to 3 or 4 now to go and watch, and it's just great fun. The whole thing is just brilliant fun, and I thoroughly endorse going down, spending a bit of cash and raising some money for charity, because it's a great laugh and it's a great cause.
Talking of charity, we mentioned the Rink Rush quiz at the Bunkers Hill Inn, which takes place on the 26th of July, next Tuesday, starting at 8 o'clock. And Paul, there's still a couple of tables left, I believe.
There are indeed, but they are starting to go. So if you do want to come down, I mean, it should be a really, really fun night. We've got like I say, the main thing's a quiz, but the £50 cash prize, first prize. Bunkers Hill and pub people have very generously donated a meal for 4 for the second prize, and a gallon of ale for third. You don't have to drink the gallon of ale all at once. I understand it doesn't just come in like a big jug or something, so that'll be a relief. But it should be a really fun night. We've got Tine getting up, singing a few songs, keep you entertained in between various parts of it, and it should be a fun night. So if you want to come down, just drop us an email at therinkrush@gmail.com to book your team. Maximum 4 in a team, just the usual rules, and it's a £10 a team, and all the money that we raise on the night will go to Cancer Research UK.
And there's also a raffle there as well with some pretty decent prizes, including fragrance.
Yep.
There is fragrance as the raffle prizes, so that.
and you get to see Jono asking questions.
Yeah. Yes. One other thing to mention is that Patrick Smith from A View from the Bridge and Claire Freeman from The Forecast recorded some podcasts at the end of last season with various people from fan podcasts from around the league. They've been split into 2 different shows, an Erdart Conference and a Gardner Conference show. The Erdart Conference show has just gone live, so if you look for The Forecast on Twitter, and you will find the link to that, and the Gardner Conference show will go live next Wednesday at around 9 p.m. So give those a listen if you can. Right, we are rapidly running out of time, so we'll just see if we've had any responses to who you think is the best signing. And we haven't had any. That's unfortunate. So
perhaps nobody likes who the team have signed. Well, or Brayhead fans are still celebrating, who knows.
I shall ask you guys while we're on, and we've got a couple of minutes left. So, Tina, I'll start with you. Do you think has been the best signing so far?
Not necessarily the best signing in terms of matching up against each other, but I think Belfast have played a blinder with Jackson Whistle.
Andy?
I still think overall probably Jansen. He's value for money. He's bums on seats, and he's a joy to watch.
Fair enough. And Paul?
For me, it's got to be Grenoble signing Carl Hardy. They've got a real warrior there. He'll do well in France.
I think,
and it means we don't have to see him.
I think for me, I think Ulmer. I think Clan have got an absolute star there, and I know he's 39, but he's scored points wherever he's gone, and I think he will come in. I think he'll absolutely rip up this league still.
But remember, Jono, like Tina said, age has very little to do with quality. Look at Ian McDonald. Doesn't matter how old he is, he'll still be rubbish.
He's been tearing it up in France, mate.
On what level?
Top league.
No, I meant I've heard rumours about what tearing
Whoa,
it
whoa,
up.
whoa, 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 whoa.
I said there were rumours.
Okay. Anything else from anyone while we are on?
I'm done.
Okay, well, thank you very, very much to you for listening, and thank you very much to Paul Baum.
A pleasure.
Tina Taylor.
Au revoir.
And Andy Haywood.
No worries, anytime.
Okay. And thank you very much to you once again for listening. We will be back sometime in August, depending on when we get a little bit more Panthers news. And we'll, as usual, be discussing anything Panthers related and Elite League related, and hopefully getting a couple of interviews as well. But until next time, thank you very much for taking the time to listen to us, and we'll see you next time on the Cats Whiskers podcast.